glad to have everyone here this morning. We have a lot of visitors with us this morning. We're glad that you're here. We'll be studying from the book of Revelation, chapter 10, where we are this morning. Before we start, let's have a prayer. Dear God, our Father in heaven, we humbly come to you this morning, giving thanks for all the blessings we have. We know that we look around us and so many blessings we know there are blessings that we don't even comprehend that we have. We're so thankful for the plan that you put into place even before the earth began, where we can have a home with you in heaven. Thank you for Christ being willing to be atonement for our sins. Help us to always live, do the things that you have to do. Be with us as we study this book of Revelation. Help us to look at the things, correctly apply them, and then see how they apply to our everyday lives. Go with us all through our lives. It gives us that hope of you in heaven. Christ we ask. We'll quickly get into about the middle of the book of Revelation. And chapter 11 is going to be close to the middle of the book, 22 books, and we're close to the middle of the fourth, so hopefully everything goes okay. We will finish just about the same time as the 4 minutes. Like I said, we're in chapter 10 this morning. Chapter 10 is a little shorter than some of the other books that chapters we've been looking at. I'll give you guys as much information, and at the end of the class, when we finish chapter 10, if everything goes okay, we're going to do a quick review of what we've seen for the first 10 chapters. Try to keep our mind. Sometimes we miss class, we forget about what we did earlier, and we can look back and kind of get us caught up again, and we're all kind of on the same page and going forward. Like I say, we're looking at this from up 30,000 foot. We're not getting down in the weeds. There's a lot of good information you can get from down in the weeds. There's a lot of good information we can get looking at it from a distance and looking at it from a distance. Casey, would you read chapter 10? It's a fairly short chapter. Okay, this is the way seventh seal, there was a little, there's an interlude there. Now we've got an interlude between the sixth and seventh trumpet. The three visions here are going to have similar effect. But this chapter includes more judgment on pagan Rome. I think it's talking about Rome. Like I said, there's people that it's talking about Jerusalem. There's people that part of the book talks about Jerusalem. Part of it talks about Rome. Lots of other groups of people that people that talks about. But the big picture we get, whether it's talking about Rome, whether it's talking about Jerusalem, and like I said, I think it's personally talking about Rome because of the book it's written to, the timing and everything. I don't believe it's talking about anything that we see happening today. The things that we see today, we may find similarities to that, and we may learn lessons from what's here. But I don't think there's anything that we see here that's specifically in this section talking about what we have today. This includes, like I said, I think this is more judgment against Rome. And, a little different thing. We've been having scrolls that were sealed, and you're taking the seals off. Now we've got a scroll that's open, and we kind of hide it. We don't, we're not sure exactly what the scroll has, but this mighty angel has a little book or a scroll, and then he shows it, and then John is instructed to eat the little book. That's things that sometimes, this all symbolic language makes it a little hard. Something I thought about when I read this, just a second. In Hebrews 5, verses 12 through 13. For though by this time you ought to be teachers, you need someone to teach you again the basic principles of the oracles of God. You need milk, not solid food. For even for everyone who lives on milk is unskilled in the word of righteousness, since he is a child. But solid food is for the more mature, for those who have their prayers, discernment, trained by constant practice to distinguish good from evil. But here's John. He's told to eat the book. He's going to master the book, and different authors will have a little different here about what the book is talking about. In Robert Hartwright, when he talks about it, it's a little short reading here. Another mighty angel, compared to Revelation 5:2, comes clothed in attire that signifies credentials of divine authority. He has a little book in his hand, but this one was open, unlike the others in Revelation 5. The angel stood in land and sea, signifying he had a message for the whole world. Seven thunders pealed forth, but John was commanded not to write them, but to seal up the things which the seven thunders uttered. Other forces of God's judgments are a work which he did not reveal to men. We do not need to know all the details. We simply need the assurance God holds the righteousness and will turn his face against the wicked. Time should be no longer suggest no more delay. That which is now revealed turns to the final chapters of how God will bring down the persecution, the persecuting forces of Rome, and ultimately the final judgment of all mankind. John was told to eat this book thoroughly, mastering the contents. But he found it sweet to his mouth, but bitter to his gut. The joy of this message and hope for God was sweet, but he considered the equally fearful message of continued persecution as well as ultimate judgment of the wicked. So, that's something that how we can have something that's sweet and bitter. It's sweet to think that what the Christians are finally going to be vindicated for what they did. It's tough to think that there's people out there that are not going to be vindicated. They're going to have problems because of that. Their final judgment. Donnie Graver says about the sounding of the trumpets. You can see seven seals, 7 trumpets, and now sounding of the thunders, and now 7 thunders. Later we will see 7 bolts of wrath. The 7 thunders uttered their voices. 7 being a complete number tells us that God's wrath and warnings are full and complete. So, God, at this point in time, in chapter 10, the warnings are complete, and he starts taking judgments after this. Zephus says, John started to write, due to the commission given earlier in the book, in chapter 1, verses 11 and 19. However, he was told to seal them up and not write them. The warnings of the 6 trumpets were sufficient to produce repentance. There would be no delay no longer. There would be no more warnings. So if they can't be told why mention it at all, it serves to comfort the Christians and warn the enemy by demonstrating that there are more events yet to be seen. There's even more that will be revealed. So, God has his plan. He's warning his people. But it comes to a point in time where the warning is over. That's the same thing for us. We've been taught, we've been warned, but at some point in time, God will stop warning, and we will be judged. And that's exactly what these people are getting ready to see. And the points to ponder, it talks about the first vision of the interlude between the sounding of the 6th and 7th trumpets and the significance of eating the little book. John ate this little book. He didn't write it. Like I said, we went from books that were sealed, to opening the seals, to a book that's open that he's told to eat to master. And, it's not, it's different than the other books that we see. Okay, before we start with the questions, is there any comments the person would like to make? Judy?
I studied the Ken Green
Yes.
a lot, and he made it a point to say that when John was told to take the book from the angel's hand, and he compared it to God never forces you to obey his will, but if you're willing to take the book, he doesn't make you take it. He doesn't give it to you. He doesn't make you take it. But you are to take it from him. So he doesn't force anybody to believe, but he does
Judy made a good point, John's not compelled or forced to do it. He's told, he's given a commandment, and he has a choice of either doing it or not doing it. And, the same way we are, we've been told all kinds of things in the Bible to do, things not to do. But we're not robots. God does not say, you have to do this. He gives us the choice. We have the choice of doing things. And if we don't want to, we suffer the consequences. That's why we see that the people have, like I said, I think Rome has said that they've been persecuted for doing good. At first, they persecuted the Christians, followers of God. They persecuted them, and then we see a little change coming, and they're being persecuted. First, they're persecuted for what they're doing. It doesn't change them. So next thing, some of them were killed for what they've done, and the rest of them still don't repent. So that's something that we need to, those are lessons that we can take. The people of Egypt were the same way. They were given warnings, all kinds of things. Even their firstborn were killed. And you see, you think, well, maybe they repented, but we'll let the God's people go. But you see, when they did, they let them go, not because they believed. I think they were worried about all the harm they'd done. And then once they let them go, then they changed their mind. We shouldn't have done this. Let's go, let's get these people back. And, then they had more death that they had to be with. So, what we can see, even though, there's a parallel between this and even what happened there. The God's people were persecuted. Then the people who persecuted them were given signs to change, even up to death. And then God delivered his people. He'll do the same thing for us today, just like he did in Egypt, just like he's doing in Rome, just like he'll do for us today. God will deliver us. More comments or questions? Let's go to the questions in the book. Judy, we're on page 48, question 1.
What are the main points of this chapter? Well, what I got from it was that there's going to be no further delay. The mystery is soon to be revealed.
Okay. We've got this, this mighty angel has this book. He gives it to John. And, the judgment is coming soon. They're going one delay. They've had all kinds of chances, but now the delay is over. Ransom 2.
How does John describe the angel which comes down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was on his hand, and his face was like the sun, and his feet like pillars of fire. He had a little book in his hand. He set his right foot on the sea and his left foot on the land.
Okay. Here we see, this angel, heavenly being. You can see that he has power. He's clothed with a cloud. We've seen rainbows on the head before in Revelation. His face is like the sun. His feet like the pillars. He had a little book in his hand. Right foot is in the sea. Left foot is on the land. He has control of everything. And looks up and listens to. That's what happened here. Here's this person coming down, this angel coming down, John describes, and we'll see that John has some interaction with him. Decent number 3.
When the angel cried out, what happened? 7 thunders uttered their voices.
Okay. And at least in our house last night, you may not have had it at your house according to where you were, but we had some thunders and lightning, and the alarm went off at the house. There was a severe storm coming, and the thunders and lightnings, when you hear those and see those, you perk up. You know something is going to happen. Right? That we've got the 7 thunders here. The loud voices of the thunder. So this all draws attention. As we've gone through here, we've had trumpets. Trumpets are used to proclaim things. Well, the loud thunders are doing the same thing here. Image number 4.
What did John start to do? Whether to write what he heard, what he told, the Lord had instructed him to seal up the things uttered by the 7 thunders, not like that.
Okay. You've been told earlier, we unsealed this, and you write it down. Now we're in a different phase in what's going on. He's told, you hear this stuff, you seal it up, you don't write it down. I said we went from a phase where we're warning people to a phase where the judgment is imminent. Obadiah number 5.
What is the mind getting squared by God? That can be delayed no longer.
Okay. There's going to be a delay no longer. That in the days of the sounding of the 7th angel, the mystery of God will be finished, just as God declared to his servants, the prophets. So, everything's imminent now. God has warned, he's progressive warnings, and some things have changed, but not enough has changed. But right now, the time to warn is over. The time to take action is coming. Joe, number 6.
What has John been told to do? He's told to take the book from the angel who stands on the sea and the land.
Okay. He's going to take this book. As Judy mentioned earlier, it's not forced upon him. He was given, he was told to do it. And we see that he does take the book like he's told. Nathan, number 7.
Well, you just answered it for me. I'm just kidding. He said, what is he told to do with the book? What do you do? He was told to read the book, and he followed those instructions.
Okay. And we see the book is sweet to the taste and bitter to the stomach. If I'm not mistaken, that was Ezekiel had the same thing about things sweet to the mouth and bitter to the stomach. Here, there's some consolation here. Some of the commentators think that consolation is it's sweet to the mouth because Christians are now going, God's people are now going to be dedicated. Things we're seeing into this, but it's bitter to the stomach to see that your friends out here, even your enemies out here, are they're going to be be judged for what they did, and they have no, there's nothing that they can do to their judge to make things right. That's the same thing when our life is over and our fate is sealed at that time. If we haven't made things right before that time, we don't have another choice. There's no such thing as purgatory. There's no such thing as, hell's going to be just a short period of time, and then, you'll repent, you'll know what you did is wrong, and you can go to heaven. None of that happens. When we die, everything that we've done, we pay the consequences for that. All of us have sinned, but we can repent of those things. But if we have unrepented sin, or we're not faithful to God, our life is sealed eternally in hell. If we're Christians, we have been faithful to the end. We're told that we'll have a home in heaven with Him. And that's such a comfort. Just like something that was sweet as honey. Well, that would be sweet as honey. But knowing that all around us are our friends, our relatives that are not like they should be, are not going to go to heaven, that would be better to us. Case number 8.
What we then told, you must begin prophesying about many peoples and nations and languages and kings.
Okay. So, he's prophesying. Things are, you wonder exactly why he's prophesying again, because we know things are going to, it says that the warning is done. There's still prophecy. Okay, is there any questions on chapter 10 before we start doing a quick review of what we've already? Okay, if you would, take your books, and let's just go back to we got the introduction. That starts on page 3. So we look at that. And, we've got a book here that is apocalyptic literature. This is literature that, we normally don't deal with anything like that. The closest thing we have are fables and parables. We can do a pretty good job with fables. We can do a pretty good job with parables. This is all symbolic language. And, that makes it difficult. And it's written in language type that, we're not really familiar with. It's 1900 years ago. That affects us a lot. That makes it hard. And the way we take the book, we went through and we've used they have these 4 views here: the preterist view, the historicalist view, the futurist view, and the idealist view. And we're taking the view that whether you want to go with anything like this or not, the things that happen in the book of Revelation are shortly to come, and so they're happening in the first few centuries of after the book was written. These Christians here, they're living. It's specifically written to Christians in a area, and this area is our modern day Turkey. This was in the heart of the Roman Empire, and it it makes me believe, any other book we look at in the Bible, whether it's First and Second Corinthians, written to the people at Corinth, when we're even, let's look at the book of Timothy. It's written to him. Right here. This is written to these Christians in the middle of Rome. So to me, it makes sense that that's who it's written. It's written to those that the things that they're talking about are things that immediately affect these people. And a lot of you out there may believe that part of it's talking about Jerusalem. The author of this book does. But the things that happened in Jerusalem are not things that directly affected these people that are in Rome right now. So, from my view, I don't mean, I think we have all kinds of disagreement there. That's okay because the big picture's still the same. I think it's talking about things that happened in Rome, the first 2 or 3 centuries, and the author's talking about is John, who's in Patmos. Almost exclusively, everybody believes that this is the Apostle John, brother James. So we'll go with that. The 2 major dates of the writing are AD 94 to 98, AD 95 to 96. I personally think it's the second. If you think it's the first one, that doesn't change any of the big picture of where we're looking at things. That's all the same. And the purpose of the book is a revelation. It's not hiding things. These are things that these people at this time, in this type of apocalyptic writing, they understood exactly what I was talking about. This was a comfort to them. We look at it, a lot of things are harder for us to look at. But these people, they understood it. They had a good idea when the things happened, what was happening. Like I said, 1900 years after this, we have a little problem. These people, they understood. And then, and a lot of that's the same in chapter 1. Chapter 1 is kind of an introduction to what's going on. And the main thing that when we start getting into stuff, and some of the easier stuff that we do, when we get to Revelation chapter 2 and 3. This is the 7 churches here, 7 churches of Asia. Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamos, Thyatira, Philadelphia, and Laodicea. Yeah. Okay. And these are the ones that are mentioned. And you will have commentators and authors and scholars that will say this is it wasn't actually written to these churches. That this was the type of churches there. I personally think at this point in time, this is the churches that's written to. They're told they're. Let's see, we had the church of Smyrna and the church at Philadelphia. Everything said good about them. Most of the other churches, there's a little good and a little bad said about them, and we get to the church of Laodicea. They're lukewarm. There's just really nothing at all good said about them. And we can look at these, and even today, we probably see churches that are in all these different views. We need to heed the warning, just like it's said, he that has an ear, let him hear. We need to do the same thing. and we need to get ourselves right, the same way that these people are. Okay,
You know, Charlie, similar to that idea too, is similar to all the other writings in the New Testament. It might have been written by Paul over to Corinth, Colossians, and all of those things were particular to them, but it's also particular to us too.
yeah, it's the lessons we get are written, the things in the Bible are written for our learning. Yeah, they're not specifically written to us, because we're not we're not located in Philadelphia, we're not located in Smyrna, we're not in Laodicea, Sardis, Pergamus, wherever it might be. But, we can learn from these things. We look at these churches are told, make yourself right, and we'll go forward and and that's the same way with us. We need to make ourselves right, and God will still, our candlestick will still be there as a foundation. These people, they were told that, and then, it goes, we starting in chapter 4, we start seeing, seeing about things that are happening, they're being maybe persecuted, things like that. Remember John, on chapter 4, on the Lord's Day, he sees a vision, a spirit, whether he was there or whatever, but he sees a throne sitting. And he sees the one sitting on the throne. He sees 24 elders. He sees thunder, lightning. The things, sea of glass, things like that. He sees, creatures here, and these creatures are praising God. He sees this scene. He's setting them up for things that are going to happen. And then chapter 5, we start the scroll. We see here's the scroll that has the 7 seals, and the thing that I think is so interesting here, John starts to weep. He thinks, there's nobody worthy to break these seals on the scroll. And then, we see cross-training, and he realizes, he is worthy to do it. So, then we see the as we go through here, we'll start seeing the scrolls, seals on. And this is where things start getting a little harder up to this point. It's easy for us to see stuff. Starting chapter 6, things get a little bit hard. We have the first seal, the second seal, the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. All these things are hard. And as we looked at our little matrices that we've done, different authors have different ideas here. Who the writer of the first course is, the first seal, the second one, the first seal was a semi-conqueror. A lot of the authors say Christ, says victory. Then the second horse, the red horse, that is war, bloodshed. That's what these people would think about that. Third horse, the black horse, they're talking about famine, grief. That's some of the things that people would come up with. The pale horse, that's considered death. when we die, the color goes out. That's what they would understand. And then, then we go to the seals change a little bit. The fifth seal, is, souls unto all. The seventh seal talks about cosmic disruption. Things are a little bit different here, but, there's a meaning we can get from all of this. Then we go to chapter 7, and a very misunderstood chapter. We're talking about the 144,000 sealed on earth. Well, we have to remember that the numbers in here are not fixed numbers. They have a meaning. This is all symbolic. And the 144,000 sealed on earth and the great multitude in heaven, some of the authors say the 144,000 sealed on earth represent the saved of the Jews, and will say the great multitude in heaven represents the sealed Jews and Christians. Some will say some of these are on earth, some of these on heaven. The big picture is there's not going to be just 144,000 saved. All of us can be saved if we do right. And these are symbolic things, not actual groups that they're talking about. Then we get into chapter 6, or chapter 8, I'm sorry. We talked about the trumpets. And the author of this book says, the first trumpet is the vegetation struck, the second, the seas struck, the third, the rivers and the springs are struck. When we lose our water, drinking water, stuff like that. And the fourth one is the heaven struck. We will quickly review 9 and 10 when we come here on Wednesday, and then we'll go into chapter 11 on Wednesday. Thank you so much for your testimony.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron.
What are you doing?
Oh, someone up there. Oh, thank you.
How are you? You're good.
Did you?